Before starting this story, I want to send my sincere thanks to those who listened and shared their experiences. Sometimes, the things we can't explain are the things that haunt us forever. Do you believe in legends about cursed places? The story I'm about to tell you is a true story, happening in the town of Ravenwood, a place where no one dares to go after nightfall. Curse of the Holloway Family. The town of Ravenwood is a small land, covered by dense and gloomy forests. In the northern forest, there is an old abandoned house, which was once the mansion of the Holloway family. A wealthy family, but carrying a terrible curse. No one knows exactly where the curse started, only that anyone living in that house met a tragic end. People say that, on a fateful night, the entire Holloway family disappeared without a trace, leaving the house empty with unsolved mysteries. Since then, no one dared to go near that place, because every time night fell, creepy sounds rang out from inside. A group of young people, including Jake, Emily, Tom, and Lisa, decided to explore the abandoned house. They are people who are passionate about mysteries and do not believe in ghosts. With flashlights, cameras, and eager spirits, they entered the forest in the dark. The deeper you go, the thicker the darkness becomes. The wind whistled through the trees, bringing with it a feeling of insecurity. Suddenly, a giggle rang out amidst the silence. The group stopped and looked at each other worriedly, but thinking it was just an echo from the wind, they continued walking. Finally, they arrived. In front of them was an ancient house, with broken window frames and rotten wooden doors waiting to fall. The air was so cold that even their breathing became faint. When entering, the musty smell filled my nose. The furniture was still intact, covered in dust, as if the owner had left in a hurry. Emily felt a chill run down her spine but said nothing. The group continued to explore each room until they discovered a locked door upstairs. Jake, curious, tries to open it. When the door opened, they saw a simple room with a bed covered in dust, an old wooden cabinet, and a clean porcelain doll lying on the table. Strangely, it was not dusty at all. Lisa picked up the doll, accidentally touching its dark eyes. Immediately, a cold wind blew, and the door behind them slammed shut. Suddenly, a sobbing sound rang out from the wooden cabinet. The flashlight trembled into the closet door, where a pale hand reached out, dragging a figure with empty eyes. The group screamed and rushed down the stairs, but the main door was locked. A voice rang out, as if echoing from the dead. "You shouldn't come here," Lisa said tremblingly. "We shouldn't touch the doll. It's the only thing left intact in that room. It's definitely related to the curse." The ghost approached, its cold breath enveloping them. It feels like an invisible hand is squeezing your throat. In a moment of despair, Jake remembers the legend of the Holloway family. They were cursed by a witch for betraying a sacred oath, and the doll is the vessel that holds the soul of the child in the family. With the last of his strength, Tom grabbed the doll and threw it to the ground. A shrill scream rang out. The house shook violently. The walls cracked. Each piece of furniture flew wildly in the air. The main door opened and the group rushed out before the house completely collapsed. The group of friends realized that even though they had escaped the house, the curse was still there. Nightmares and strange hallucinations continued to follow them. They went to the town's ancient library, where documents about the Holloway family were kept. They discover an ancient book that records a failed sacrificial ritual that the Holloway family performed to gain eternal power. The dark entity they summoned cannot be destroyed, but can only be sealed with a special ritual, a ritual that needs to be performed in the place where it all began, the Holloway family crypt. The group followed an ancient map and found an abandoned cemetery where the family's crypt was located. As they entered, the dark space suddenly became terrifyingly cold. From the darkness, whispers rang out, dark shadows appeared, blocking them. Jake recites spells from an ancient book, while Tom draws a sealing ring with his own blood, a requirement for the ritual to take effect. Emily and Lisa placed the doll in the center of the circle and burned it with the sacred fire. A scream tore through the air. The evil entity appeared, angrily trying to break the seal. But the light from the magic circle grew stronger and stronger, engulfing it in a purifying fire. Ultimately, The entity is sucked into the crypt, and the stone door closes forever. The group was panting, exhausted. No more whispers, no more scary hallucinations. The curse has truly been lifted. They left Ravenwood, carrying with them a story that no one dared to believe. But one night, in Jake's dream, he heard a familiar whisper. "You think the curse is gone? It was just sleeping." Until someone else woke it up. Jake woke up startled, cold sweat pouring out. He shook his head, trying to calm himself that it was just an echo of lingering fear. But when he looked down at the table, where the headphones were still lying, an involuntary shiver ran down his spine. Because at that moment, even though the room was completely quiet, in his headphones, there was a soft whisper. "Your name." Spiritual headphones. I've never believed in mysteries, but what happened that night changed my mind forever. I have a habit of jogging at night, not because I'm an active person, but because the night brings me extraordinary quiet. The empty streets, the faded streetlights, and the sound of footsteps reflecting on the road surface made me feel like I was in my own world. But that night, something was wrong. That day, I decided to run a new route, going through a less traveled road. On both sides of the road are dense rows of trees, streetlights are sparse. Only dim light shines on the road surface. I turned on my favorite instrumental music and felt every step. But then, the music suddenly stopped. No buzzing, no lost connections, just absolute silence. I frowned, checked my phone, and saw that the application was still running normally. I pressed playback, but instead of music, another sound rang out. A voice whispered, "Calls my name." I stopped. Heart attack. First, I thought I heard wrong. I took off one earphone and turned my head to look around. There's no one. There was only the sound of leaves rustling in the wind. I took a deep breath, reassured myself, then put on my headphones and continued running. But then that voice returned, more clearly, soft, lingering, as if someone was standing right behind me, calling my name slowly. I took off my headphones again and turned around. Still no one, but an uncomfortable feeling welled up, the feeling of being watched. I decided to return home immediately. I'm not in the mood to run anymore. When I got to the door, I almost rushed inside and locked the door immediately. The apartment was so quiet that I could clearly hear my own breathing. I checked my phone and played the song again. This time it plays normally. There was no voice at all. Maybe just a technical error. Maybe it's just because I'm tired. But no matter what, I couldn't shake the creepy feeling that clung to me. The following days, I intentionally ran on brighter, more crowded routes. But the feeling of being watched did not go away. Every time a gentle breeze blew across the back of my neck, I would startle and turn around. Every time I hear a small noise, I feel like someone is calling my name. I started losing sleep. Then one night, things got worse. I woke up in the middle of the night, cold sweat pouring out even though the room was not hot at all. I feel like something is wrong. When I opened my eyes, I almost screamed. In the corner of the room, right near the door, there was a dark shadow standing there. It was motionless, but I felt its gaze. My throat was dry. I tried to move, but my body felt frozen. I don't know how long I lay there. When I blinked, the shadow disappeared. But I knew it was there. After that night, strange phenomena became more and more frequent. The lights in the house turn on automatically at night. I hear footsteps even though I live alone. Small items moved around without me touching them. I started to panic. Finally, I decided to put a small camera in the living room to record what happened at night. The next morning, I checked the video from the night before. First, everything seemed normal. The room was empty, with only weak light from the bedside lamp. But around 2 a.m., from a dark corner of the room, a figure gradually appeared. A shadow. It stood there, motionless, watching me sleep. I found myself stirring in my sleep, as if sensing its presence. Then, in the blink of an eye, it was gone, as if it had dissolved into thin air. I was dumbfounded. I rewinded the video several times, hoping it was just an image error. But no, that shadow was actually in my room. Primal fear welled up inside me. I can't stay here another day. That very morning, I packed my things and left the apartment without looking back. I don't know what that thing is, where it comes from. I also don't know if I'm really out of it or not. But there's one thing I'm sure of. I will never wear those headphones again. Ghosts on an empty street. I thought that leaving that weird apartment would help me escape my obsession. But I was wrong. Strange events continue to happen. The lights in my room turned on in the middle of the night. The feeling of being watched still haunts me every moment. The climax was one night. While I was sleeping, I heard footsteps in the hallway. I held my breath and listened. The footsteps were slow, as if someone was standing right outside my door. This time I called the police, but there was no sign of an intruder. I know I can't continue like this. The next morning, I decided to leave town, looking for a new place to start again. I rode my motorbike and left when it was dark. The night air was cold and damp, making my coat insufficient to keep me warm. But the feeling of fear still stuck with me. Suddenly, the wheels slid on the gravel road. I lost my balance and fell hard to the ground, sharp pain radiating from the knee. I tried lifting my leg. Luckily, I didn't break any bones. But then, a footstep sounded behind him. I turned around in surprise. A tall, thin man stood there, his face hidden in the darkness. He didn't say anything, just signaled me to lean on him to stand up. I had no choice but to go with him. When I arrived at the nearby gas station, I turned around to thank, but there was no one there. The gas station attendant said he didn't see anyone with me. The next morning, I returned to the place where I fell, and there, I saw an old stone stele with a date of death engraved on it that was more than 30 years old. The strange thing is, the name on the stone stele is frighteningly familiar. Non-ending mystery. That name is Min. I felt cold down my spine. This name reminds me of a vague memory, but I can't remember exactly. An urge made me learn more about this person. I drove to the local library and flipped through old newspapers. And then, I found an article from 30 years ago. A young man named Min mysteriously disappeared in an abandoned house. When he was found, he had gone crazy, constantly muttering, "Save me. That abandoned house, just not far from here." I feel like there's an invisible string guiding me. Part of me wanted to turn away and run away, but another part was caught up in this mystery. I decided to drive to the village mentioned in the article. Local people avoided me when I asked about the abandoned house. Only one old man was willing to tell me. 30 years ago, a group of young men entered that house. Only 3 of them came out, but they were never themselves again. I asked about Min, the old man sighed. That boy, he didn't really come back. When the police found him, he was just a walking corpse. And then one day, he disappeared, leaving no trace. My heart beat strongly. The man who helped me last night. Was it Min? I decided to go to the abandoned house to find answers. The house still stands there, among the rows of old and gloomy trees. When I entered, a cold air enveloped me. On the wall, yellow stains are clearly visible under the flashlight. Then I saw it. The cabinet was old and tightly nailed. A weak voice suddenly rang in my head. "Don't open the cabinet." I stepped back, but my hand trembled as I placed it on the cabinet door. I must know the truth. I have to know what Min has been through. I pried open the cabinet door. Darkness all over. A loud laugh rang out. The laughter of a child, but distorted and deformed. A small hand reached out, pulling me into the darkness. I can't scream, cannot resist. The world before my eyes shattered. A week later, the police found me lying unconscious in the middle of a wasteland. But when they touched me, I suddenly jumped up, my eyes widened, and I muttered words that no one understood. I screamed and resisted frantically, forcing them to tie me up and take me to a mental hospital. Since then, I am no longer myself. I just sat quietly in the corner of the room, my eyes blank, occasionally giggling. But the scariest thing, that every night, the doctors hear whispers echoing in the hallway, "Save me!" And then one night, I disappeared. The room door is still locked tightly. There are no signs of destruction. There was only a bloody handprint on the wall, with a scrawled note underneath, The game has just begun. After this event, Lan, Hung, and Fong could no longer live normally. Nightmares continuously haunted them, with the image of Min standing in a dark hallway, his empty eyes staring at them. One day, Fong disappeared. The police found him in a panicked state in the middle of the forest, muttering about a wooden door that kept opening in his dreams. A young journalist named and decided to investigate the story of the abandoned house. She goes to the area where the house once stood and discovers secret records about the family who lived there. The father, after his daughter went missing, was so haunted that he committed suicide, leaving behind a mysterious note. She's still here, in the closet, and followed the clues and realized that everyone who had entered the abandoned house gradually disappeared or went crazy. She found Lan, the only person still awake. But when she arrived, she discovered Lan had hung herself in her room, with a note scrawled on the wall. "Don't open the cabinet," despite panic, and decided to continue the investigation. But unbeknownst to her, in the reflection of the mirror, a figure was quietly observing her from behind. While searching for more information, and discovered a strange object in the abandoned house. It was a silver necklace with a red stone, sparkling strangely under the light of her flashlight. Sensing something was wrong, and went back to old records and discovered the story of a girl named Eliza, who once owned this necklace. Eliza used to live in a small village nestled between rolling mountains. That village carries a curse that no one dares to mention. In the center of the village, there is an old wooden house where old Lady Agnes used to live. It is rumored that she possesses a mysterious necklace capable of bestowing blessings or causing terrible disasters. Many years ago, Eliza, not believing the rumors, went to the old lady to buy back the necklace. Even though she was warned, she was still determined to bring it back. From there, strange things happened. Whispers in the night, distorted images in the mirror, and endless nightmares. Finally, Eliza mysteriously disappeared. But the necklace is still there, as if it had never left. When it held the necklace in her hand, she felt a cold breeze running down her spine. She knew she had awakened something. The whispers that Lan once heard, the strange deaths, and even Min's disappearance, all lead back here. She left the abandoned house, but did not know that, in the old mirror behind her, the reflection was not her, but a distorted face with empty eyes watching her every step. The real game has just begun. After this event, Lan, Hung, and Fong could no longer live normally. Nightmares continuously haunted them, with the image of Min standing in a dark hallway, his empty eyes staring at them. One day, Fong disappeared. The police found him in a panicked state in the middle of the forest, muttering about a wooden door that kept opening in his dreams. A young journalist named and decided to investigate the story of the abandoned house. She goes to the area where the house once stood and discovers secret records about the family who lived there. The father, after his daughter went missing, was so haunted that he committed suicide, leaving behind a mysterious note. She's still here, in the closet, and followed the clues and realized that everyone who had entered the abandoned house gradually disappeared or went crazy. She found Lan, the only person still awake. But when she arrived, she discovered Lan had hung herself in her room, with a note scrawled on the wall. "Don't open the cabinet," despite panic, and decided to continue the investigation. But unbeknownst to her, in the reflection of the mirror, a figure was quietly observing her from behind.